last 3 weeks. Haven't been running these. Had a few weeks, went to the south of Spain and did some walking and just enjoyed the environment, which is just wonderful. So welcome back to me, welcome back to you. This morning we are going to be exploring for a period of 7 minutes something which is quite close to a lot of what we're doing at the moment, and that is something about change. So if we think about a change model, we can go really, really deep and we can go really, really complex, but I want to keep it nice and short, nice and simple for you this morning, something to think about. Whenever we undertake a change of some sort, we're usually doing it for a particular reason, and we're usually focused on the outcome of that change. So much so that sometimes we miss some of the basic stuff. Now, when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about anything, okay? So it could be a personal change, say for example, like we've got at the moment, our washing machine's broken, okay? So the outcome is that we need to get a new washing machine, and this new washing machine needs to be something which we can move on from, or it could be something that's in business, and it could be a system or a process that you've been working on for many years, and all of a sudden things have changed and you've had to look at a different way of doing something. But you're still emotionally attached to that old process. You still think that it can deliver still amazing things, but the new way of doing things is the way that you need to do it. So what I'd like to do is introduce you to a model by a guy called William Bridges, um, and he tackles this in a slightly different way. He invites us to think about change as a three-step process. Sure, he does think about the outcome, and he calls that the new beginnings, but that is stage three. And before we get to stage three, there's two other things that he suggests we go through. The first one is about endings. Okay, now endings are really interesting. We'll come on to those in a second, because it's something that we need to be comfortable with before we can transition through change into what Bridges terms as new beginnings. The second stage is that Bridges recognise there's a period of uncertainty between the old and between starting the new. And he calls this the neutral zone. This is a zone where we all feel that emotion. It could be that we, as mentioned, we've been doing a process for quite some time, and that process is indoctrinated in us, and we can't understand why we're moving ahead with this new way of working. So let's just go through each of these in a bit more detail. Let's go to step one, okay, about endings. The most important thing about ending is letting go. We need to be able to identify that over a period of time, that process, that model, that product has served us really, really well. It's given us cause for celebration, but it is now time that this product is rested, or the service is changed, or this process is updated. We need to get to a position where we accept that that is the thing that we need to do. Now, if you're running your own business, that's quite straightforward for us to do because it's us that's taking that decision. But similarly, if you're running your own business, that can create a challenge for you as well. It can potentially freeze you into a space of taking a decision. You could procrastinate and then not take that particular decision. So we need to be aware there's risks associated with ending, and we can't build that up to a crescendo so that it paralyzes us. If we move on from ending, losing and letting go, we need to be thinking that we need to be celebrating the fact that that product, that service, that person even has done so much good for us. But we move into this area called the neutral zone. The neutral zone is this area where we have a large amount of uncertainty. We don't quite know what the future is going to be. We do not know what that new process is going to deliver. And in some ways, if you're running in agile space, that short, sharp processes, we may not understand potentially where the project is actually going to end up. We know ultimately what the shape or the smell or the feel of it's going to be long term, but that route to get there we don't maybe understand. So the neutral zone, the most important thing about the neutral zone is to accept, first of all, that leadership is key. People are going to be looking at leaders to guide us to that new beginning, that new outcome that we're working on. The second thing is that we transition across that space in different speeds. So I could move fast on some products, or services. I can move slow on some products or services. And that's quite fine, you know. That's okay, but we need to identify that that's a bit of the process that we need to manage. Really interesting. If we look at some of the purchasing cycle stuff at the moment, we know that there's what people are starting to term this messy middle. And the whole thing about the messy middle is for us as sellers to guide people through this messy middle to help people purchase this new product that they may be purchasing. So let's think about that. Okay, let's think about how we do that. We also need to be aware that there's a huge amount of emotional instability in the space. New ideas, new concepts and stuff like that are alien for us to take on board, and it means that our brain power, our typically lazy, actually energy conservative brain, is wanting to do stuff that it knows about already. So we're going to have to spend energy inside our brains focusing on a new method. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because that means that we need to be led towards that new outcome, that new product. The third area, as I mentioned, is about new beginnings. And if we start thinking about various embedded change processes, it's all about getting sponsors on board. It's about thinking what is going to be the short-term wins. How can we help people move to this new beginning? And as a leader, what we need to be doing is thinking about what the benefits are for the people who are going to be on the ground. Thinking about how people are going to be dealing with this new change in the future. Now, as a coach, this is something I come across quite a lot, where people are maybe still harbouring some of the feelings from the past, and this is upsetting the future with regards to a new product development. Sometimes leaders have taken decisions and they haven't maybe communicated effectively what that change is going to be. So I'll ask you this morning, as we round into the last 30 seconds, think about a change that you're going through. Identify that you have an ending of something which you're changing, that you're going to feel a bit uncertain in what you're doing, and that you should be embracing that new future and that new ending. So thank you very much, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed this morning. Here's me looking at my screen. I realise that I faux pas again, but never mind. I'm sure I'll get to hear about that. This will be coming out as a podcast because it certainly hasn't got video. I will see you at 8:30 next week. Okay, take care.